Let me paint you a picture and tell me if you recognize her. She's the woman who learned watercolor painting one summer, got genuinely good at it, then quietly drifted toward learning to code. She can talk to you about ancient history, then pivot to skincare chemistry, then mention the small business she ran for 2 years before deciding she'd rather study psychology. Her resume looks like 5 different people wrote it. Her browser has 40 tabs open, and somehow she knows exactly what's in each one. And if you ask her the most ordinary question in the world, "So, what do you actually do?" you'll watch something flicker across her face. A little panic, a little shame. Because she's never quite figured out how to answer it. Maybe that woman is your sister, your friend, your daughter. Or maybe, just maybe, that woman is you. And if it is, I want you to stay with me, because today we're going to talk about something that might completely change how you see your own mind. We're going to talk about the M-type brain, the brain of the multi-potentialite, and why the very thing the world keeps telling you is a flaw might be the most extraordinary thing about you. Here's the assumption we all grew up swimming in. We were told, gently but relentlessly, that the goal of a life is to find your one thing, your passion, your calling, the single lane you're supposed to commit to and ride all the way to the end. Pick a major, pick a career, pick a niche. And the people who do that, the specialists, the ones who knew at age 7 they wanted to be a doctor, we hold them up as the model of a life well lived. So what happens to the person whose mind refuses to pick just one? She starts to believe something is broken in her. She thinks she's flaky, unfocused, a quitter, a dabbler who never finishes anything. But what if I told you that's not a defect at all? What if her brain is simply running on a completely different operating system? The term multipotentialite was popularized by the writer Emily Wapnick, who noticed that a huge number of people don't have one true calling. They have many. And the psychology behind this goes deeper than just having a lot of hobbies. Researchers who study high curiosity and a personality trait called openness to experience have found that some people's brains are wired to seek novelty, complexity, and variety the way other people seek comfort and routine. For the M-type brain, learning something new isn't a pleasant bonus, it's oxygen. The moment a skill becomes fully mastered, the dopamine, the thrill, the sense of being alive in the problem, it starts to fade. And so she moves on. Not because she failed, but because that particular mountain has already been climbed, and her mind is already scanning the horizon for the next one. Now let me ask you something. Why does this seem to show up so powerfully and so painfully in women? Because here's where the story gets emotional. A man who hops between interests is often called a Renaissance man, an entrepreneur, a visionary. A woman who does the exact same thing gets called scattered, indecisive, unable to settle down. The same behavior, 2 completely different labels. From childhood, many women are quietly trained toward steadiness, toward being reliable and consistent and finishable, toward not taking up too much space with too many ambitions. So the multipotentialite woman often grows up with a double weight on her shoulders, the natural restlessness of her brain, and the cultural guilt that tells her that restlessness is a personal failing. She doesn't just struggle with her wiring, she struggles with shame about her wiring. And that, I think, is the wound we really need to talk about. Because let me show you what's actually happening inside that mind and why it's not chaos. It's a kind of genius the world hasn't learned to measure yet. The M-type brain is built for connection. Not social connection, though that may be there too, but conceptual connection. When you've studied painting and coding and history and psychology, your brain doesn't store those as 4 separate boxes. It builds bridges between them. Suddenly you see a pattern in human behavior that maps perfectly onto a problem in design, which reminds you of a structure in music. This is the soil where real innovation grows. Some of the most important breakthroughs in history came from people who carried ideas across borders, who took a concept from one field and dropped it into another where nobody had thought to look. The specialist drills deep into one well. The multipotentialite connects 100 wells into a single living network. We desperately need both. But we've only ever really celebrated one. There's a beautiful concept here that psychologists touch on when they talk about transferable skills and rapid learning. The multipotentialite isn't actually starting from zero every time she picks up something new. Every field she's ever explored left behind tools, and she carries all of them into the next room. The discipline she learned from music makes her faster at coding. The empathy she built in psychology makes her a better designer. The storytelling she practiced in writing makes her a magnetic communicator in business. She's not scattered, she's compounding. Each new pursuit isn't a detour away from the others. It's another thread being woven into a tapestry that only she could ever make, because no one else has lived exactly her combination of curiosities. But I won't pretend it's all effortless, because that wouldn't be honest, and you'd see right through me. The M-type brain comes with real challenges, and naming them gently is part of honoring them. There's the exhaustion of always wanting more than one life can hold. There's the heartbreak of unfinished projects that haunt the corners of your home like ghosts of who you almost became. There's the genuine difficulty of a world built around specialists, job applications that want one clear title, conversations that want one clear answer, a society that rewards the straight line and looks suspiciously at the spiral. And there's the loneliness, the quiet sense that everyone else got the memo about how to live, and you somehow missed it. If any of that landed in your chest just now, I want you to know it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because you've been trying to run extraordinary software on a machine the world keeps insisting should only do one thing. So how do you work with this brain instead of against it? The shift starts with reframing the word finish. A specialist finishes by mastering and staying. A multipotentialite often finishes by extracting, by taking what a pursuit had to give her, the skill, the insight, the joy, the growth, and then allowing herself to move on without guilt. Not every project needs to become a career. Not every interest needs to be monetized or completed to the very end. Sometimes the entire point of the journey was who you became while walking it. Once you stop measuring your life by the specialist's ruler, the so-called failures start to rearrange themselves into something else entirely. A rich, deliberate, beautifully non-linear education that no university could ever have designed for you. And here's something worth sitting with. The future may actually belong to minds like hers. We're living in a time when the problems we face refuse to stay inside neat categories. Climate, technology, health, ethics, none of these can be solved from inside a single discipline. They need translators. They need people who can stand in the space between fields and speak all the languages at once. The multipotentialite woman, who spent years feeling like she belonged nowhere, may turn out to be exactly the person who belongs everywhere. The very adaptability that made her feel unreliable in a stable world becomes priceless in a changing one. She is, in a very real sense, built for uncertainty. And the world has never been more uncertain. So let me come back to that woman from the beginning, the one frozen at the question, what do you do? I want to offer her, and maybe you, a different answer. Not an apology, not a nervous list, just the truth, said without shame. I'm someone who learns. I follow what fascinates me. I connect things other people keep separate, and I'm still becoming. Because the goal was never to shrink yourself down into a single word small enough to fit on a business card. The goal was to become fully, expansively, unapologetically yourself. Your many interests were never evidence that you were lost. They were the map of a mind too alive to stand still. So tell me, are you one of them? Do you have the 40 browser tabs, the half-finished passions, the resume that confuses people, the quiet ache of being told to just pick one? If this felt like someone finally describing the inside of your own head, I'd love for you to say so in the comments, because I have a feeling there are far more of you out there than the world has ever admitted, and there's something powerful in finding each other. And if this gave you even a slightly kinder way to see your own beautiful, restless, multidimensional mind, then stay close. Because the more you understand how you're actually built, the less time you'll waste apologizing for it, and the sooner you can start using it for everything it was always meant to do.